What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome on into the show where we're going to run through a 7-round mock draft as we are less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. And in this mock draft, I've got some trades included. Now, let's kind of put a primer down of what picks Denver has to work with in the upcoming draft. A first, a third, a fourth, 3 fifth-rounders, and 2 sixth-rounders. My suspicion is Denver will use some of those day 3 picks to bundle together and move up in the draft. Now, before we even get to the 12th overall pick in the draft, I made a trade. I think Denver wants to get back into round 2 to get a quarterback, and the Rams called and offered the 52nd overall pick in the draft, which I gladly accepted. So after moving back from 12 to 19, I went edge rusher out of UCLA, Latu, with the 19th overall pick in the draft, originally belonging to the Rams. So let's get to know Latu a little bit. He is 6'5", 259 pounds, 4.64 40-yard dash. So from a physical makeup, he's not like the best athlete we've ever seen enter the draft at this position, but from a identity of an edge rusher, like in terms of skill set and the types of clubs he has in his bag as a pass rusher, he may be the best pass rusher in this draft class. He led FBS in tackles for loss and was 4th in sacks last year while winning the award, the Ted Hendricks Award for top defensive end in football. Now, there are some injury concerns. He missed 2 seasons when he was at Washington before transferring to UCLA with a neck injury. He was told his football career was over, and ultimately, it's a really cool story where he kind of said, nope, it's not. You're wrong, docs. I can still play. And then he balled out for the Bruins. Now, in my eyes, he's got the highest ceiling, but also the lowest floor of the top 3 edge rushers in this draft class, right? Where it's Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, and Laiatu. Because Latu's got the most production of all 3 guys. He's not the most physically impressive of all 3, but don't look at that and go, oh, he's a bad athlete. No, he's just not Dallas Turner fast, and that's fine. There aren't many guys who are Dallas Turner's size and speed in every single draft. But Latu does have the most production of all 3. Now, my concerns are he had a lot of production against bad offensive tackles in college football. When he went up against Oregon State and Talisi Fuanga, he did not have the type of success he had when he went up against Colorado's offensive line and Coastal Carolina's offensive line. So there is a ceiling and floor disparity that's bigger than Dallas Turner and Jared Verse's in my eyes. But at pick number 19, I'm willing to roll the dice on this to bring another edge rusher to Denver's defense where they don't sorely need one. I'm higher on Jonathan Cooper, Nick Bonito, and Baron Browning than some of the national pundits are, but I still think there is room to grow in this room, right? Where Cooper, Bonito, and Browning are your top 3 guys, and listen, I think they are solid pass rushers, but I definitely think that this team could benefit from adding another one since it's a committee group anyway. Why not add another really good player potentially to that committee? So, should Denver go edge in round 1? The Broncos can go a variety of positions in round 1. Like, I'm willing to go out and say no team has more position options than Denver does in round number 1. They could go edge rusher. They could go cornerback. They could go quarterback. They could go tight end. They could go a handful of different directions. But for now, I think at pick 19, adding what could be a dominant edge rusher, if his skill set is able to transfer over to the NFL, it's worth the gamble with a second half of round 1 pick. Now, after making that trade with the Rams, we acquired pick number 52, and that's where I went Bo Nix, Oregon quarterback. Now, hot take coming in. I don't think Bo Nix and Michael Penix go round 1 in this year's draft. I think they are much more of a round 2 type of player. So, with that in mind, I know a lot of people have Nix going earlier. I'm also old enough to remember when they had Will Levis going round 1, when they had Malik Willis going round 1. This happens every year in the draft. They boost quarterbacks up, then the draft rolls around, and these guys fall a lot more than people anticipated. So I have Bo Nix being available at pick 52 in this mock draft, and that's where I took him. Now, he's got loads of experience, right? Longtime starter at Auburn, didn't really work out for him in his hometown state, transfers to Oregon, and completely revitalizes and saves his career in a lot of ways. Now, Dane Brugler, who I think is one of the best NFL draft gurus, he wrote this on Bo Nix. Nix gets in trouble when he plays loose with his technique and his eyes speed up on him, but he understands where to go with the football, and his scrambling can give defenses fits. Though it feels unlikely that he will ever rank among the 15 best quarterbacks in the NFL, he has the tools to become a middle-of-the-road starter. He's a coach's player that is always being raved upon with his high IQ on the field, in coaches' meetings, and everyone always has great things to say about Bo Nix. And I just made a little joke that if Gruden was still running his QB school, remember that Spider 3 wide banana? This is a player that would ace it. And that seems like a Sean Payton guy to me. So while personally I'm higher on Michael Penix, I'm not the Broncos GM. So I'm trying to think, what would Sean Payton do? And I think if he has the pick between Nix and Penix, he would go with Bo Nix. So before we get on to the rest of our mock draft today, join our NFL draft coverage here at the Broncos Breakdown. I'm trying to reach 21,500 subscribers before the draft gets underway. We got 300 subs to go, so I invite you to join the channel if you have not already. Moving on to round number 3, we're at pick 76. I'm going to go cornerback now. Andru Phillips, Drew Phillips for short. 5'11", 190 pounds, 4.48 40-yard dash. So from a physical standpoint, he doesn't really jump out to you as this incredibly impressive athlete. Now, he plays like a mean SOB. He's very tough, very physical. He's often rerouting wide receivers, pushing them off of their path, and that, of course, delays the timing with the quarterback, and that allows your defensive ends to get to the quarterback. Now, he doesn't have a ton of production. In fact, he has 0 career interceptions at Kentucky. So there is something to be said about a lack of ball skills, and that's why he's a more of a round 3 guy than late round 1 into round 2 type of player. But Denver's cornerback room, I think, could really stand to add another player to it. Of course, the big question is Riley Moss ready to be a starting cornerback in this league? And that's something the fan base has been wrestling with really since the draft coverage and process kicked off. I don't think it's a bad idea to hedge your bets on Riley Moss. I know George Paton said after the season ended, we view Riley Moss as a starter in this league. So I think there's a lot more internal optimism on Moss than external. But I still think if you're Denver, you should probably bring in another player at that spot, just in case things with Moss don't go well. Now, before we get to the next draft pick here, I made another trade. This time I am moving up in the draft, where I called the New England Patriots, who had the 103rd overall pick, and I offered up one of Denver's 3 fifth-round picks to jump up from 121 to 103. So at 103 to start day 3 of the draft, I go Kansas State's tight end, Ben Sinnott. So, Sinnott, let's get to know the Wildcat tight end fullback. It's a really cool football story. 6'3", 250 pounds, so pretty solid size, really good athleticism as well. He walked on as a fullback and then worked his way up to being a 2-year starting tight end. And the word on the street is for Sinnott, every single coach loves him. They rave about his high football IQ, his effort, his commitment to the team. And to me, when I see those types of players, I think those are guys Sean Payton wants to get his hands on, right? Those are football players that may not be the fastest, may not be the strongest, but Sean Payton, he loves guys that have high football IQ, and this just screams like a Sean Payton pick. Now, Denver's tight end room definitely needs a facelift to it. They brought back Adam Trautman. Greg Dulcich is just unreliable, unfortunately, due to reoccurring hamstring injuries. So I'm not sure we'll see Denver attack this room early in the draft because after Brock Bowers, there's a bit of a drop-off in the tight end room. Some people really like Jatavion Sanders. I do out of Texas, but let's see if Denver waits on tight end to day 3. Moving on to round number 5, pick 136. I'm going to go running back Braelon Allen out of Wisconsin. He's not my preferred back, to be honest with you all, but it's round 5. And this is a good reminder that you don't always get the players you want in mock drafts, right? Some guys get picked before you. But Allen is 6'1", 236 pounds. Now, don't jump to conclusions of he's 236 pounds and he's a running back. Oh, he's a bowling ball. He doesn't really play like a bowling ball, actually. He plays a little bit lighter and smaller than what you would expect for 236 pounds. I've seen NFL comps given out that he could be like a Tyler Algier. That's the Falcons' backup running back, although he had 1,000 yards in his rookie season before they drafted Bijan Robinson. But a 3-year starter in Madison, so lots of experience, which means he knows how to read holes. He's got patience. He understands the position well. And in round 5, that could be something that Denver values very highly. They brought in a Kentucky running back for a pre-draft visit, so I think there is some level of interest to adding to this running back room. I personally feel like a big season is coming for Javonte Williams. He's entering a contract year. He'll be 2 years removed from his very serious knee injury. But let's all just be honest with one another. Through 3 seasons so far, I don't think the Javonte Williams experience has gone as originally planned back when he was a round 2 pick. So with him entering the last year of his contract, maybe Denver decides to bring some reinforcements to this room. Moving on to round number 5, pick 145. I'm going to go defensive tackle finally out of LSU, Maason Smith. Now he's 6'5", 306 pounds. He only started 1 year for the Tigers. Unfortunately, in 2022, he suffered a season-ending ACL injury in the first game of the season. So should have been a 2-year starter, really highly recruited player coming out, and then ultimately only 1 year of film, which is why he likely falls to day 3 of the draft. But he's got great athletic traits. He moves very fast for a 306-pound man. And I'll also add, this year's defensive tackle crop, it's not even all that great to begin with, but it's definitely on the smaller size. There's not a Vita Vea really in this draft class, at least not many of them. So I think that Maason Smith has a really good chance of coming in here and kind of pushing DJ Jones for that nose tackle role, and Denver just needs to get better on the defensive line. They were pushed around and embarrassed last year. Maason Smith is going to come in here, and he's going to serve one role and one role only, to be a tree stump, to sit in the middle of the D-line and free up linebackers to do their job. On to round number 6, pick 203. I'm going to go with linebacker out of Michigan, Michael Barrett. 5'11", 232 pounds. He was a 2-year starter at Michigan. He enters the draft as a projected day 3 pick. He doesn't have any physical traits that really jump out. Longtime player in Ann Arbor, started on offense, if I remember correctly, made the switch over to defense. And after watching him and reading stuff about him, I walk away with just 2 words: football player. And in round 6, you're not going to find incredible athletes or great production, and let alone a combination of the two. But what I am seeing in Michael Barrett is a guy with a high motor, tons of effort, can play on special teams, and I'll take that for round 6, especially when it comes at a position that is kind of a future need for Denver. Like Cody Barton, they signed him to a 1-year deal. Drew Sanders could be kicked out to an outside linebacker role like they did with Baron Browning. And that leaves just one real starting linebacker after Barton and Alex Singleton, who's kind of getting up in the age column. He signed an extension last offseason, so that will be expiring in the near future. Not a bad time to reset a little bit at the position, / more importantly, just kind of bring some youth to that spot after losing Josie Jewell. And then to wrap up the mock draft with pick 207 in round 6, I go with Frank Crum, offensive tackle out of Wyoming. I made this pick for one reason and one reason only. He has incredible hair. I mean, it looks like a Minnesota hockey player hair competition that he's going to win. He also was really kind of a standout player at the Senior Bowl, if I remember correctly. So the hair, local, round 6. Come on, guys. What do you want me to say here? Plus, offensive tackle could be a future position of need if they move on from Garrett Bowles. And It's not like any of us are raving about Matt Peart or Alex Palchevsky as a swing tackle if an injury popped up. So to recap the mock draft, I traded back in round 1, got Latu at pick 19. Then I'm pretty confident Bo Nix is going to be there in round 2, so I scooped him up there. Again, not what I would do personally, but what I think Sean Payton will do. Then I added to the DB room by getting Drew Phillips. And then in rounds 4 through 6, we traded up to get Ben Sinnott. We got Braelon Allen out of Wisconsin. Maason Smith, who has really high upside, but just 1 year of tape due to being injured in 2022. So I like the gamble for it being round 5. Michael Barrett, a great football player all around. And then the flow. Can't pass on it. So grade my mock draft for me. A, B, C, D, or F. Give me your best. Give me your worst down in the comment section.